Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on a really crucial piece of healthcare tech, the Radiology Information System, or RIS for short.
Yeah,
Now, if you're just picturing a digital filing cabinet for X-rays, you need to think a bit bigger. RIS is, well, it's more like the engine driving a whole radiology department. It manages everything: appointments, reports, all that patient data.
exactly. It's really the operational hub.
Right.
While a PAS, that's the picture archiving and communication system, handles the images themselves, storing them, viewing them, the RIS orchestrates the entire workflow around those images. It's managing the patient's journey, right from the initial order for a scan all the way through to the radiologist's findings.
Okay. And to get a real handle on how RIS works in practice, we're focusing today on one specific system called RIS. What's really interesting about RIS is that it's open source. So let's just quickly unpack what that means. Open source software is like a recipe where the instructions, the app, the actual code underneath are freely available for anyone to look at, to use, even to tweak or modify.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our main sources are, well, the Tyrus website itself, which is great because it gives us a direct look at what the developers intended, the features they think are important, and how the system's evolved. So our goal today is to understand the nuts and bolts of Tyrus, what it can actually do, and maybe why its open source nature could be, well, a significant advantage, especially if you're interested in healthcare tech that's adaptable and efficient.
Right. So let's get down to brass tacks then. Based on what the Tyrus site says, what are the absolute essential jobs any RAS has to handle?
Well, at its core, RIS, as Tyrese shows it, is really about smoothing out the workflow and managing all that patient information in a radiology department, keeping all the plates spinning. The website really emphasizes its role in organizing the radiological records and all the data that goes with them. And that becomes super important when a healthcare provider has, like, multiple locations. Imagine trying to coordinate patient info across several clinics without a central system. Yeah, that's where RIS is crucial.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, if a hospital network has different outpatient centers or imaging clinics, the RIS is kind of the glue holding it all together, making information accessible. And the FIGHT mentions the RIS often works really closely with the PAS. How do they typically interact, like, day to day?
They're definitely a team. The RIS handles the admin side, think paperwork, logistics for an exam.
Yeah.
It manages the requests, schedules things, tracks the patient, and it's key for generating the final report. The PAS, though, is laser focused on the images, where they're stored, how they look, who sees them. They're usually linked up, so when a radiologist pulls up images on the PAS, the patient history and exam details from the RS are right there. And Tyrus also mentions its role in billing, which again highlights that administrative backbone function.
Okay. Now, one thing that really stood out to me is that Tyrus is described as a 100% web application. What does that mean in, practical terms for a user?
Oh, being web-based is a huge plus these days. It basically means you access Tyrus through a normal web browser like Chrome or Firefox from pretty much any device with internet. No need to install special software everywhere. That immediately boosts accessibility and opens the door for things like teleradiology.
Teleradiology, right? That's where radiologists can review images and write reports from somewhere else entirely. The Tyrus site even has a specific link for a teleradiology workflow. So a specialist could be miles away, maybe even in another time zone, and still chime in on patient care.
Exactly. And that can be a total game changer. Think about rural hospitals without on-site specialists, or just managing workload across a big health network. The web-based aspect just makes sharing expertise and collaborating so much easier, regardless of physical location.
The website also talks quite a bit about integrating with DICOM and various viewers. DICOM sounds pretty fundamental. Can you break that down? What is it? Why is it so important?
Absolutely. DICOM is digital imaging and communications in medicine. Think of it as the universal language for medical images. It's the international standard that makes sure all the different machines, MRI, CT, X-ray, and the software used to view and store their images can actually talk to each other properly. Without DICOM, yeah, it'd be like trying to play a Blu-ray on a VCR. Just wouldn't work.
That's a great analogy. So the fact Terrace connects with DICOM servers and viewers is, well, essential for it to even function in a modern radiology department. And the site lists specific ones. It works with some open source like DCM4CHE and OCFRAF, and also commercial ones like Radiant. Why mention both types? Is that significant?
It is, yeah. It offers choices. Open source options often mean lower upfront costs, and they give technically savvy users the freedom to customize. Commercial viewers, on the other hand, might have more bells and whistles or perhaps dedicated support teams. By supporting both, Pyrus shows it's designed to be flexible. It can fit different budgets, different technical comfort levels within an organization. It doesn't lock you in.
We also saw the site mentioning different workflow options, a RIS simple workflow and a RIS radiology workflow. That suggests some tailoring is possible.
Precisely. The simple workflow probably maps out the basic steps for managing patients and exams within, say, a single hospital or clinic. Standard stuff. The teleradiology workflow would then layer on the specific processes needed for remote work, things like secure image transfer, maybe communication tools for offsite radiologists. It adapts.
Okay, let's dig into Tyrus itself now. The website details different versions. There's a free version 1.8 and then version 3.8, which has various paid licenses. What are the main feature differences we see in their comparison?
So the free version, 1.8, gives you the core stuff you'd expect. It handles the basic workflow, order, exam, report. It lets you do manual patient registration, edit procedures, use report templates, add addendums, edit reports, preview them. And crucially, you can assign cases to radiologists and manage their work lists. Reports are in HTML. There's a basic internal web board for news. Plus, you can upload scanned files and get essential admin tools managing users, procedures, refers, departments, even merging patient records, and a procedure prep form, so it's a solid base for smaller places.
Right, a good starting point with the essentials. What's the step up then when you look at version 3.8?
3.8 is where it really expands significantly. It adds a whole bunch of features, often tied to different license levels. A big one is organizing radiologists into groups, very handy for bigger departments. It adds PDF report generation, a teaching file module, and that important OpenPanSy link, explicitly naming integrations with open source systems like DCM4, Chi, OHive, Osiris, plus built-in multi-site support, handy things like auto-saving reports, duplicating reports, tracking CD film usage. You also get a scheduler. You can embed key images in reports, tools for multiple arrivals, and QC checks. Dedicated workflows for transcriptionists using external PDFs is really geared towards larger, more complex operations.
That is a substantial jump, and it looks like 3.8 also brings in lab results and, importantly, HL7 support. You mentioned standards earlier. How big a difference does HL7 make?
Oh, that's a major enhancement. HL7 Health Level 7 is basically the set of rules letting different healthcare systems talk to each other smoothly. Think of it as the common language for EHRs, lab systems, and the RIS. The fact that 3.8 supports HL7 for patient admissions, orders, results, that's ADT, ORM, or U messages, means Tyrus can slot into the wider hospital IT world much more easily. Less manual data entry, better data consistency. And the higher tiers of 3.8 even give you access to the open source code for the HL7 interface and service to help set it up. That means serious customization potential.
The reporting in 3.8 seems much more advanced to turnaround times, workload stats, procedure stats, exporting to Excel or PDF for analysis, plus digital signatures, changing the interface language. And the pricing is interesting, right? From free for a single site, code protected, up to paid options with more code access. But they're clear about not reselling the source code without permission on those paid versions.
Yeah, exactly. That tiered model lets different sized places pick what fits. Free for tiny setups or just to try it out, paid versions for the richer features needed by bigger organizations. And yeah, restricting source code resale is pretty standard for open source projects trying to manage commercial use and stay sustainable.
The site also flags advanced features starting around version 3.5, which seem to need a paid license plus service. What are some highlights there?
Yeah, these are really about optimizing things for bigger, more complex places. Things like auto printing to external devices, deeper HL7 integration, specifically mentioning setup help with Mirth Connect, and supporting MPPS messages. Now, MPPS modality performed procedure step that's about detailed communication with the imaging machine itself, tracking progress better, integration with even more PASS-CS and viewers like DMWL and OVIAM, widening compatibility, and the ability to customize reports, get help migrating data from old systems, remote help for installs, upgrades, interfaces. That's significant support. And mentioning extra coding mandate for new requirements, that spells out highly tailored custom solutions are possible.
Looking ahead, the Coming Soon section lists some neat developments, time-stamped May 1st, 2024. What's on the horizon for Tyrus?
It's always good to see active development. They plan to upgrade the free version 1.8 to use newer, more secure PHP versions 7 and 8. That's crucial for performance security. They're also working on a Docker version that would make deploying and managing Tyrus much simpler in different IT setups. And maybe most interesting, the roadmap includes adding modules for inventory, billing, and scheduling. That suggests they're moving towards a more comprehensive departmental management solution. Could reduce the need for lots of separate systems.
That's really encouraging, seeing it evolve and broaden its scope. The website also has a development log, giving some history. Any key milestones jump out from its past.
Oh, absolutely. Looking back, you see a clear progression. Version 1.0 was the basic workflow, admin tools. A key moment was moving the code to GitHub that opened it up to the community, paved the way for using newer tech like PHP 7. The advanced versions brought UI improvements, better multi-site support, even a dark mode in 2.0. Developing an API in Mirth Connect was also smart for integration, and version 3.0 was a huge leap, bringing in many features we discussed. Better QC workflows, radiologist groups, image signatures, external PDF support, integration with newer DCM4G and MedDream, plus things like two-factor authentication, an API for creating exams, multi-language UI, JSON reports, OAuth integration by session number, and embedding PDFs in TICOM files. And the log confirms free version 1.8 is on GitHub, easy to grab. It really shows that dynamic open source evolution responding to needs and tech changes.
And just for anyone listening who's interested, maybe wants to learn more or even get involved, the site gives a contact email, info.xraytai@gmail.com. And it notes copyright from 2016, 2023, showing it's an ongoing project.
Exactly. A direct contact point, and it shows the project has history and is actively maintained.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive here, what are the main takeaways about Tyrese you'd want people to remember?
Well, I think we've seen Tyrese as a really compelling example of an open source, web-based RIS. It offers a genuinely wide range of features for managing radiology. It covers different needs from the basics in the free version, right up to sophisticated stuff in the paid ones, like strong HL7 integration, advanced reporting, broad PAS-ES connectivity. And that open source core means adaptability, potential for community input, while the ongoing development shows it's trying to keep pace with what healthcare needs.
It definitely highlights how open source can provide accessible, flexible tech in critical areas like healthcare. For anyone looking at RIS options, understanding a system like Tyrus, its features, and its open source nature seems incredibly valuable for making smart choices.
And that makes you think, doesn't it? It prompts a final thought for you listening. Given how open source is growing everywhere, what other really vital healthcare systems could benefit from similar open adaptable models? Where else could this approach foster innovation and maybe wider access?